The calculus of collapse. They left me with a worthless pocket watch and a promise etched on the back. 20 years later, I used the calculation from that same promise to destroy their multi-billion-dollar lie. My name is Rhiannon Rye Bellwether. My office sits 80 stories above Arclight City, overlooking the sprawling, pulsating energy grid of the Aura Core project. The view is the ultimate symbol of control, a mesmerizing spiderweb of plasma conduits and silent fusion towers. My space is all precision machined titanium, low-light data screens, and the faint, crisp scent of ionized air. I am the Chief Technical Officer, CTO, and presumptive CEO of Novastar Energy. Today is my 34th birthday. My security director, a man named Kale, leaves a small plain wooden box on my desk. It's not a card. It's a custom-made, military-grade charging station for my neural interface. Efficient. That is my preference. A high-frequency vibration from the nearest fusion tower cuts through the silence. The titanium walls hold firm, but the sound, the faint whine of immense power, is enough to crack the present. The ionized air fades. The titanium vanishes. The smell of controlled plasma is replaced by the humid, oily stench of a collapsing industrial park. I am not in Arclight City. I am in Rustwater Basin. The place in Rustwater was a gutted warehouse space, converted illegally into apartments. We had no windows, only high air vents that whistled with the sound of neglect. I was turning 14. I walked home from the community vocational center, clutching the blueprints for a small-scale wind turbine I'd built. I was certain this time the achievement would earn a moment of recognition, maybe the cheap, sugar-soaked cake mix they kept hidden. The warehouse was silent. Too silent. On the rusted work table where my father, Silas Vane, often tinkered with salvaged electronics, there was only a single heavy object, an antique brass pocket watch. It wasn't a family heirloom. He'd found it in a scrapyard. Tucked beneath the watch was a crumpled sheet of graph paper. Went east to liquidate some assets. The watch is yours. Remember the Vane constant. Back in a month. Don't contact anyone. There was no signature, just the scribbled equation. Slamda, frac A2Rs, energy over time squared equals lambda. The Vane constant, utterly meaningless. I opened the refrigerator. Bare coils and frost, no food. I was completely alone. My immediate fear was not hunger, but the sudden absence of the only thing I had ever valued. Knowledge. Silas and my mother, Helena, were brilliant but chaotic engineers, always chasing the next failed venture. The only currency I respected was data. I searched the tiny space. I found nothing but dust and old receipts. Finally, in the watch's internal casing, I found a single object taped inside, a vintage 256 KB memory chip. The hunger was a dull, grinding pain. I couldn't trade the chip. It looked like junk. I went to the only place I knew, the Scrap Tech Exchange. I tried to sell the brass watch. "Worthless, kid," the gruff owner Garth said. "No jewels. The mechanism is shot." "It's brass," I pleaded, my voice thin. "Scrap price?" He sighed, tossing me a crumpled bill. $5. Don't spend it all in one place. $5. Enough for a week of ramen packets. That was the value they placed on me. 3 weeks later, I was out of food and out of hope. The watch was gone. The ramen was gone. I sat on a decommissioned capacitor bank, staring at the useless memory chip in my hand, a heavy, low-slung transport vehicle, humming with a custom solar array, pulled up to the curb. A man emerged. He was tall, dressed in practical, immaculate synthetics, with eyes that assessed everything. Senator Marcus Theron. He was the founder of the Arclight Initiative and a legendary industrialist. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at the capacitor bank I was sitting on. "That's a pre-flux capacitor, military grade," he noted, walking toward me. "Not something you see every day." I stood up. "It's inefficient. The crystalline matrix has too much lattice stress under maximum load." He stopped, genuinely surprised. "You sound like you've read the schematics." "I have," I said. And the energy loss calculation on the shunt resistor is inaccurate. It overheats at 70% capacity. He stared at me, then pulled out his personal comms device. Who are you, kid? Rhiannon Bellwether. My parents are Silas and Helena Vane. Marcus Theron's face hardened, turning to granite. Vane, I haven't heard that name in 20 years. Your father was my partner. They vanished after they tried to steal the Theron plasma patent. He did not take me to the police. He took me to his private research lab. Over a nutrient-paced dinner, he slid a state-of-the-art quantum ledger pad across the table. Your parents were brilliant, Morgan, but they were criminals. They valued shortcuts over integrity. I will give you a chance to learn the opposite. This ledger is yours. Every minute you spend, every kilowatt of energy you use, every line of code you write, it will be logged. Transparency is the only currency that lasts. His lessons were surgical. He wasn't a builder, he was a scientist. He taught me the laws of thermodynamics, the ethics of data management, and the difference between a successful equation and an honest one. Integrity is the final constant, he taught me. It's the variable that prevents the entire system from collapsing. I poured myself into the work. I was not the girl from the failing warehouse, I was a Theron protégée. I devoured the principles of energy efficiency, data science, and sustainable grids. The sabotage, constant. My cousin, Darius Theron, Marcus's only son, came home a year later. He was the golden boy, fresh out of a Swiss finance program. He was tall, sleek, and reeked of inherited arrogance. He found me in the auxiliary data center, surrounded by schematics. Well, look what the old man dragged in, he drawled, his voice a smooth sneer. The stray from Rustwater trying to hack her way into the bloodline? What a joke. She is my technical apprentice, Marcus said, his voice cold. You will treat her with respect, Darius. Whatever, Dad. Just keep her away from my investment portfolios. I don't need her vain, constant math screwing up my margins. Darius was assigned to the Financial Protocol Division, all theoretical risk assessment. I was assigned to the power flow design, hard physics, and data. We were bidding on the biggest contract in the world, the Global Grid Synchronization Project, a massive overhaul of the world's energy system, centering on Marcus's patented fusion technology. The margins were tight. The international standards required level 5 compliance. Darius scoffed at the requirements. Just fudge the compliance numbers. Nobody checks the source code. The quicker we get the contract, the quicker we flip the stock. We can't, I said quietly, interrupting his call. The gravimetric shunt array design you submitted will fail at peak load. It doesn't account for the quantum entanglement leakage factor. Darius glared at me. Excuse me? The leakage factor? Stick to sweeping the data floor, Vane. I ran the simulation, I countered. You used a simplified linear equation. It's a parabolic decay. The shunt will destabilize the entire grid in under 48 hours of full operation. I have the data. Marcus looked at my screen, his face grim. Darius, is this accurate? Darius stammered, it's a theoretical maximum. We can correct it in post-production. We don't sell theoretical maximums, Marcus said, his voice flat. We sell integrity. Morgan, redesign the array. You'll lead the technical submission. The humiliation was a physical burn on Darius's face. The sabotage began small. Code errors in my submission. Wrong materials ordered for prototypes. Then came the big one. The international regulatory body contacted Marcus. We have received a full data package alleging that the Novastar fusion containment vessel uses a dangerously outdated beryllium alloy matrix with a severe risk of thermal runoff. The beryllium alloy matrix was an early draft, one I had specifically rejected and replaced with a proprietary graphene composite. I ran to the servers. The original beryllium draft, digitally signed and approved with my forged neural print, had been transmitted from the Financial Protocol Division to the regulators. You did this, I said to Darius, finding him in his office. I didn't, he smirked, but it looks like you pushed your little Vane constant too hard and the system broke. Go back to your spreadsheets, Vane. This is what happens when strays mess with the bloodline. Marcus suspended Darius. You endangered a multi-billion-dollar contract. All for what? Embarrassment? She thinks she's better than me, Darius shouted. She's a criminal's daughter. I'm your son, your blood. The system does not care about blood, Marcus roared. It cares about verifiable data. Darius vanished, sent to a subsidiary in Eastern Europe. But I knew this wasn't over. I created a new encryption ledger on a secure server. I meticulously logged every event, the forged neural print, the cost of the delay, the specific beryllium matrix code, and the financial protocol division timestamp. I was learning to build a system that was unbreakable. Final constant 5 years later, Marcus's health failed. Decades of exposure to low-level plasma radiation took its toll. His neurological system began to decay, a slow, irreversible decline. On his deathbed, he handed me a small, encrypted data spool. Rhiannon, he whispered, his voice weak, my charter. It's about the math, the company. It goes to the mind, not the name, to the one who proves the final constant, integrity. You earned it. I became the CEO. I was 26. I found a way to use my power. I discovered that a high-ranking executive had been using outdated plasma containment protocols to cut costs, exposing our maintenance crews to risk. He pleaded, Marcus allowed it. Marcus is gone, I said, presenting the safety violation data. Your severance is 0. Ethics above profits. Darius used his exile to build a new empire, Ignis Dynamics, using his mother's inherited wealth. He branded himself as a disruptive energy broker, focused on fast acquisition and quick profit. I survived a massive corporate espionage attack, a hack traced to an Ignis Dynamics proxy server, and an attempt to frame me for a power grid failure, an overloaded shunt resistor that I, ironically, had flagged years earlier. Darius was a convicted felon. Conspiracy, sabotage, and grand larceny. He hated me. The zero-sum game years later, the final bid was announced. The Global Atmospheric Regulation Array, GARA, project. The most significant clean energy project in history. Novastar was a finalist. The competitor, Ignis Dynamics. I opened the executive profile. Silas Vane, Chief Technical Officer. Helena Vane, Head of Research. My biological parents. They had partnered with Darius. Their corporate slogan, Ignis Dynamics, Momentum is Truth. I closed the file. Momentum is Truth. A perfect summation of their life, constantly running, never checking their work. I led my team, focusing on the only thing that mattered, verifiable physics. I submitted our proposal, audited by the CERN Ethics Review Board. Ignis submitted their bid. Darius led the presentation, smooth and arrogant. They promised the GARA array in record time for 40% less than anyone else. The commission chair, a hard-nosed scientist, cut right through the flash. Mr. Theron, your plasma regulation formula uses a simplified lambda tersna frac ert 2 constant. We require a full lambda tersna frac ert 2, or frac salpha, or beta work dot, d equation, accounting for the bellwether-thorn decay factor. The room went silent. I had published the full equation, an extension of Marcus's original work, 3 years prior. The commission was using my standard as the test. Darius looked completely lost. He glanced at Silas Vane, my father, who was staring at the slide with a look of dawning horror. That was his old, worthless, scribbled equation, the Vane constant. They had built their entire multi-billion-dollar fraud on a child's initial scribble. I walked to the podium. I did not speak to them. I spoke to the commission. The Ignis Dynamics proposal is not cheaper, I stated, my voice steady. It is a mathematical and ethical fraud. It violates the fundamental laws of energy conservation. Their approach will not regulate the atmosphere. It will cause a catastrophic thermal event in year 2, resulting in a system-wide collapse. The cost of that collapse is infinite. Our equation is the correct one. Our equation is verified. The commission's verdict was swift. Novastar Energy won the contract. As the cameras flashed, Silas Vane approached me in the aisle. He was a ruined, hollow man. Rhiannon, he whispered, a tremor in his hand. We we were wrong. That watch, that constant, it was the only thing of value we had left. I looked at him. I looked through him. You are mistaken, Mr. Vane, I said, my voice cold and precise. You gave me the wrong equation. Salamda, Yichur, frac, $2 is a lie. The only constant that mattered was the one I learned after you left. Integrity is the final variable. You failed the math, you failed the ethics, and now your entire system has collapsed. I walked past him and onto the stage. I was handed the heavy, platinum-plated pen. I signed the contract, Rhiannon Bellwether. The final equation was complete.